Scarlett is also a labor doula and we'll be talking today about childbirth education. A lot of the childbirth educators in town that you can take classes from happen to be doulas, and a lot of doulas happen to be childbirth educators because those Venn diagrams are pretty close together. All right, I'm going to go ahead and invite Scarlett to come and join us. Let's see.
All right. Hi, Scarlett.
Hi, everybody.
Good afternoon. Oh, look at you with your cute background. I love it.
Yeah, this funny thing happens when you have a pandemic and you're like, you know what? I wasn't using this Burberry fabric after all. So it's covering up my gross attic.
It looks great. I love it.
Amazing.
Well, Sarah and I are going to pop off and let you talk about childbirth ed. Thank you for being here.
Great. Thank you. So, hi, everybody. Again, my name is Scarlett, and I'm going to use some slides today as well, because I think that'll just help keep me on track for timing. So I'm going to switch over, share my screen, where I got some slides. Oops. There we go. I'm going to start over at the beginning, not the end. So just a little bit about me. I am a doula, and I am an ICEA, which stands for International Childbirth Education Association, which is quite a mouthful. So that's why we abbreviate to ICEA. And I've been those things, both of them, for about 11 years. I have been a birth nerd for forever. And, the way that I think about that is just that I think everyone kind of has their little things that they nerd out about. And, yours might be Star Wars or gardening or cats. And for me, it's birth. And I think that's probably true for a lot of us. I just loved everything that Bree was saying and totally agreed with all of it. But what that means is when we're talking about keeping up with new stuff in the birth world and the childbirth education world, this does not feel like work. It is fun and interesting, and something that I enjoy doing in my free time. And so much so that I have not only had 2 kids of my own, but I went on to birth for other people because I just like it so much. So my kids are 17 and 13, and they were both born at home. And then I carried 2 surrogate babies, so they were not genetically related to me. One of them just turned 6. He just had a birthday, and the other one is almost 2.5. So I wrote my own curriculum and taught with a business partner as head over heels birth education for 9 years. And when my business partner moved on, I started teaching the evidence-based birth classes, which we'll talk about in a second. I am a Portland native, and I was born in this here house in Southeast Portland. And I've lived in Portland for almost my entire life. Just a few small stints in other places. And I've done all my doula work and childbirth education here, so I'm really familiar with the Portland birth scene. I chose to teach the evidence-based birth classes because they incredibly align with my values. So like I said, I wrote my own curriculum before, so I was pretty attached to that. And I don't think that I could just pick up a turnkey class unless it really dovetailed with my values. The big things are that there is no right or wrong way to birth. The important things are that you have access to up-to-date evidence. So you need to know what risks and benefits come with what things in order to really make those decisions meaningful for you. It's also important that you have a provider who not only respects you, but keeps up with the evidence and can help you interpret how that evidence applies to you, or if it applies to you. It also needs to take into account your goals, values, and preferences. These are an enormous part of evidence-based care, and the care is actually not evidence-based unless it takes into account your goals, values, and preferences. Those are the three main pieces of evidence-based care. Having the data, having the provider who can tailor that data and whether it applies to you, and then what do you want? So you also need to have evidence about the stats of each birth location that you might choose. And this is a big part of the class as well. So once a year, I sit down, I pull data, I crunch numbers, I get as much data as I can about each individual hospital, aggregate data on birth centers, so that you have actual numbers from which to make decisions. The evidence-based birth was designed to be a hybrid class that combined virtual and in-person elements. So typically the class would have a 2-hour in-person first class and then a 2-hour in-person comfort measures rehearsal class. And that was really great to not have to drive for all parts of the class. But then it also made it pretty easily adaptable to an all virtual format when COVID-19 hit. So unlike some childbirth classes, this one was already designed to be mostly virtual. And so we just taken those first and last classes and adapted them. And because much of the content is pre-recorded by evidence-based birth, that means I'm doing a little bit less direct teaching, but it means I'm able to act like a guide and a mentor to help you understand how birth works in this area. So you're getting some general information, and then I get to give you the nuances about like whether that's something that you need to worry about here or how that might work if you wanted to ask for a particular thing in this area. The evidence-based birth childbirth class emphasizes 3 big things. So advocacy, comfort, and evidence-based care. And I know Bree talked about advocacy a little bit as well. So this is kind of a nice little smooth segue. I think about advocacy as using your voice to ask for what you want and teaching your partner how to help advocate for you as well. I think a lot of times when we think about advocacy, we are thinking about fighting for something that we want. And it doesn't necessarily mean that. Sometimes it just means like feeling like you're on equal footing with your provider and you can just ask for what you need. Like, hey, can we get a few more pillows in here? That would be really great. It would really help us. So the class also goes into a lot of comfort measures. We teach relaxation techniques. It goes very in depth about acupressure techniques for both for promoting labor and for pain relief, for promoting more comfort in labor. It teaches massage positions for labor and birth, and then just kind of a smattering of other types of comfort measures. And then evidence-based care. This is really important, and unfortunately not all care is evidence-based. It actually takes 15 to 20 years for good proven evidence to make it into practice. And we don't want you to have to wait that long. You should just be able to take the evidence that's there now and make sure that you can get it when you're having your birth. And this class teaches how to do that in a really team player sort of way. So again, doesn't have to be adversarial, but can just really encourage you to figure out how to build that team. Everybody wants the same thing. We're all going for the same outcome, and we want to make sure that we're just on the same page in doing that. And this class really, really works on that in terms of how you can do that as a pregnant person and how partners can do that as well. And then in addition to the evidence-based birth class, because I still really do love being an active instructor and teacher and not always just a mentor and a guide, I have the ability to tailor a private class specifically to your needs. And this is one of the things that I've donated to the raffle, a 2-hour tailored private class. I use Motherboard Birth to help me with the visuals because their illustrations are beautiful and they have some amazing slides. And when we're talking about doing a virtual class, those visuals can be really, really important. But the concepts are my own, what I've been teaching for 10 plus years now. And they dovetail really nicely with the slides that Motherboard uses. So I can use those as a jumping off point to teach what I would normally teach and tailor it to what you might want and need. So with 11 years as a birth doula and forever as a birth nerd, helping me kind of understand what you need to hear and how you need to hear it. So in those private classes, I can help you understand a little bit about your own coping style. I can help partners understand how to be an amazing support person for the birth. I can teach you techniques for smoother, easier birth. So using things like spinning babies, which if you haven't heard about it, it's all about how the position of the baby and your own soft tissue can affect how difficult or easy or how long or short your birth might be. I also teach acupressure and techniques to use with a rebozo, which is like a long woven scarf, kind of like this. I can cover breastfeeding, chest feeding, postpartum, and newborn care as desired. So you can let me know if you're interested in a tailored private class, and I can discuss with you and send you a proposed outline if that's something that you're interested in. And the next evidence-based birth classes are starting in June, so mid-June, Sunday afternoons. And I think that's my time. So I'll go ahead and finish up my slide and stop sharing and come back to the panel.
Thank you, Scarlett.
You're welcome.
We
Got a
super appreciate all of that talk specifically about evidence-based birth and the fact that it can take 15 to 20 years for proven evidence to come into practice is a little mind-blowing. So I love that you offer that to people.
It's really hard to change, you know, once you've kind of gotten into a groove, it's hard to think that maybe that's not the best evidence anymore. So we need to kind of help consumers and pregnant people ask for those things.
Yeah, totally. I see a note here. I just want to make sure you see it too from Danielle. It says, what a great way to help empower families through the labor process. And I could not agree more. It's totally how I feel about evidence-based protocols and education.
I noticed Bree's evidence on doula use was actually, the link was an evidence-based birth link. Yeah.
comes together.
It's good stuff.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Scarlett. We're going to say goodbye and throw some of your information back up on the screen, but thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Here, I can share that. There we go. There's Scarlett's information. As she said, she's got a class coming up in June. So go ahead and check her out. You've got her social media information and her website right there. So you can follow up with her. That was awesome.